Welcome to the best gambling show on the internet. This is the home of the money pick. We got playoffs coming up. I think we're less than like 18 hours to the playoffs. Looking forward to it. What's up, Chris? What's up, Pay and Plays? I saw you on TikTok, man. Looking forward to this week. Looking forward to these games. There's a lot to talk about. I talked about the games extensively this week in all the videos, but I feel like I need to get my point across better with the Texans, Chargers, and even Ravens, Steelers. We need to talk about that. I think people are going to fall in a trap in that game. So I'm looking forward to it. What's up, Frank? What's up, Couch? I like the name. I'm ready to get this money. What's up, Juicy? Good evening. Good evening to all you guys. Yeah, man. So and also I want to talk about some of these head coaching firings. I was pretty annoyed about the Antonio Pierce one, but I was bracing for that. I don't know if you guys noticed the last 3-4 weeks of the regular season. I spent a lot of time on the Tennessee Titans game because I wanted to show how like bad Brian Callahan was this year. And I successfully picked against them pretty much every single game to finish the year. And yeah, man, and I'm just a little bit I'm not shocked by Antonio Pierce being let go, and I'm not shedding tears. But the fact that Brian Callahan gets to stay does rub me the wrong way. So yeah, man, that was one thing. Zamora lost someone making picks. Do you look at which team has more yards for penalties on offense and defense? No, unless it's like an outlier. Unless there's a team like I know that is just being horrendous. Like for instance, I remember this one, the first 8 weeks of the year. The Texans had the most pre-snap penalties on offense. And you could just see that watching the games. I didn't need the stat to tell me that. For instance, Jets, if you look at their games this year, they were probably number 1 or number 2 in pre-snap penalties on offense. Like, so just watching the games, I know who's very, very sloppy. But yeah, I'm not like diving into like the penalty yards for the playoffs because that shit's random. And also, I think we're going to see refs swallowing the flag once we get into the wild card. I mean, we certainly saw that in the Vikings Lions game. I'm not coping or making excuses for the Vikings not getting separation in the red zone and Sam Darnold not making throws in the red zone. But I think we saw that Detroit's secondary was all over the Vikings receivers. But for me, that's good football. I'm not even complaining or coping. Thank you for the super chat, Kai-Fi. Kai F. Soda me, bro. I got time today. All right, man. We'll try to get you on. So it'll be good. Yo, Wiz, what do you think about the Pierce firing, man? What's up, Ron? What's up, Ron? And what's up, Gennaro? Oh no, I don't do playoff cheers. I'm worried about this week. I'm worried about the matchups this week. I think we got some interesting matchups, man. I'm really looking for. I think the Chargers Texans might be the best game of the day. Best game of the slate, to be honest. I'm excited for that game. I think that can go a wide variety of ways. I don't think that's the slam dunk money pick you guys think. And I know the Texans are easy to throw dirt on, and they've certainly been poor this year, let's be honest. But I don't even think the Texans need to play good football to win the game. I really think that's the case. I think, and we rid the Chargers this whole year. We rid them right. We knew when to get off. We know when to stay on. And I'm just not seeing all the Chargers love. I don't think the Chargers are playing great football either. Certainly, you know, racking up yards against a Raiders defense without Wilkins, without Max Crosby, without starters in the secondary made people feel good, but that's not the litmus test that they're going to be getting against the Texans. What's up, Lauren? What's up, Lauren? Um, yeah, and Wiz, I agree, and Dan Campbell was terrible his first year, and covered a lot of spreads though his first year. But also you can't give a guy Gardner Minshew and Aiden O'Connell and say, okay, that's your shot, that's your one opportunity. You can't really do that. And the guy who picked Gardner Minshew, and I've always been a Minshew a-log, a Minshew hater. I've always felt like people glaze him for no reason. But you give a guy Aiden O'Connell, you give a guy Gardner Minshew, when you see what Darnold's doing, when you see what Jameis Winston can do, and you should say, "Oh, okay, you lose with these two bums." And Aiden O'Connell actually played good, and I don't blame Pierce for not starting Aiden O'Connell week one. He wasn't ready. He just wasn't ready. And then. So and then like people criticize Pierce. Okay, they say he doesn't win enough games, starts winning games near the end of the year. And now they're saying he should have lost the games for the draft spot. It's like what do you want? Like, he can't really win. If he wins a game, you hate him. If he loses the game, he didn't win enough games. Like, that's how I felt with that. And listen, Antonio Pierce lost me money this year, especially. There was 3 games that really bothered me from Antonio Pierce to add a little bit of balance. The 2 against Denver, they probably should have beat Denver a mile high, but I'll give him the pass because they were dominating the game in the first half, and then Minshew has a wide open guy in the flat for a touchdown to go up like maybe 10, 14 points in the first half, dominating the game. And then instead of taking the easy option, Minshew sails it to the back of the end zone to the wrong option. Pat Surtain pick 6. Those 3 games I felt like were terribly coached. That first game against the Chargers, it was poor, no doubt. The 2 games against the Broncos. But like I said, like Gardner Minshew is always hanging over. Yeah, I don't know if Josh Allen being engaged or not makes a difference for me. Hopefully it's better than his other woman. I remember like 2.5, 3 years ago, he was he was dating some actress from LA, and she would have parties in the house and keep him up before game day, if you can believe that. Yeah, Rams are playing in Arizona. The Rams are playing in Zona. Yeah, I know. Jay, he was set up for failure. Like at a certain point, like I'm pretty sure they fired the GM as well. But like I said, I will be critical of Pierce, and I have been critical of his in-game coaching. But also, there's only so much you can do with Gardner Minshew, and he's not the GM, and I'm sure he had no say in the free agent quarterback he got this year. He had no say in it. Let's be honest. Yeah, I'm worried about Sam Darnold. Mike Florio on Pro Football Talk saying we're going to see Daniel Jones if Darnold struggles. I don't know about all that. But Rams defense has been pretty fierce this year. Yeah, good question, Steve. What were the expectations for the Raiders with Gardner Minshew this year? What were they? My expectations were really low, but I thought they would cover a lot of spreads for us, and that was a mixed bag. A lot of that was because of Antonio Pierce, but a lot of that is just because when you have Gardner Minshew, it's poor. It's poor, man. But yeah, let's get to the first Patreon question. Yeah, no, I just don't like using someone as a stopgap coach, Wiz. I don't like that. Okay, like I don't like that. Yeah, the Raiders D was disappointing. I like I said, like I see the argument against Pierce too, but like I said, I've saw a lot of bad coaching this year, especially in-game coaching. So that was the one firing that rubbed me the wrong way. Gerard Mayo, no, because I actually watched the Patriots games. I watched all the Raiders games as well. So the Gerard Mayo stuff, like Stephen A pushing that stuff, like, bro, like, no, like you got to watch the games. Like Gerard Mayo was really, really bad. He was like Nathaniel Hackett type bad. Okay, but here we go. Let's get to the first question on Patreon. What's up, Chris? Okay, Leo, we'll get you on first, Leo, to talk about that Pittsburgh Ravens game. Okay. Quat. I feel like the Texans can make a run in this year's playoffs if Deontay can step up at wide receiver. CJ Stroud can ball out on anyone. I think they can beat the Chargers and upset KC in the next round. Well, I think Casey's vulnerable, but we know how it is going into Arrowhead in the playoffs, so I don't want to say anything crazy. But yeah, I'm sticking by my pick of the Texans to win the game. I'm worried about Stroud. I'm not counting on anything from Deontay Johnson, to be honest. What happened with the Ravens was, man, it's a bad look on him. It's a really bad look on him. So let's just get that out of the way. I'm not expecting anything from him. But one guy I am expecting to be an X factor in this game, and you can go check out the player prop video. I think John Mechie over 19.5 receiving yards is going to be the X factor. I think he's turned into a good, stable slot option, and someone needs to step up. I think it's smart, mentioning Deontay Johnson, because this Texans wide receiving core desperately needs someone to step up. And Robert Woods is too damn old. Some of the other guys are useless. So you have Nico Collins, and we've seen Dalton Schultz have a down year this year. He's actually been terrible this year. So I think John Mechie needs to step up. The reason why I like the Texans in this game is I actually really rate this Texans defense. And I'm going back to my original point in the video. It got a lot of pushback. But I think the Texans have way more dogs on defense, and I still think the Chargers need to pay a price for going into the season with this type of wide receiving core. Outside of McConkey, it's a practice squad wide receiving core. Let's be honest about it. Wolfgang 82. I'm on Philly myself. Got 4. I'm a Packers fan, but just don't see where we stop this offense of Philly. Yeah, I'm a little bit nervous about this game as the week goes on. I'm a little bit nervous about rust from Philly. I'm a little bit nervous how long this Hurts concussion took in the concussion protocol. So we'll start there. But yeah, I do think this Philly offense will be good. But man, I just think the way to attack this Green Bay defense is different than other people. I think the way to attack them is to throw it on them. And you do wonder, we've seen the Eagles lack rhythm at times in the past game, even though they got Goddard, Smith, Brown. Like, come on, man. Like, they're absolutely stacked at skill positions. But we've seen this Eagles passing game flounder this year. I guess that's the only thing that worries me. I think Green Bay's defense and the run fits are rather competitive, but at the end of the day, can anyone stop the Eagles run game if they stay consistent? Like, I could see the Eagles having a tough first half, and then I could see them taking the game over in the third and fourth quarter. Now, on the other side, this is why I feel more confident in the Eagles. Jordan Love is banged up, but he's off the injury list. I'm not reading too much into that. I don't think Jordan Love has been good at all this year. This Packers pass attack hasn't been good, and people keep pointing to last year's playoffs. This Packers offense is drastically different. This is a run-first offense in every single way you want to phrase it and cut it. So, I do think the best way to attack Philly's defense is to run it. But then again, like, this Philly D-line and front seven is pretty damn good. I'm not sure the Packers are going to be able to push them around. And I'm not sure the Eagles are going to be like, we can't stop Josh Jacobs. Josh Jacobs is burning us. We need to put the 8-man in the box. And that's what the Packers want to do. Like, Jordan Love is always trying to push the ball down the field, and it's just dried up this year. There's not a lot of deep balls that connect. A lot of them turn into interceptions. And one game, I know we don't want to go back too early in the season, but that one game that I feel like summarizes this Packers offense is that game that they played in Lambeau against the Houston Texans when Stroud was absolutely terrible, and the Texans probably should have won that game. Packers needed like a 58-yard field goal to win it. So I think this Packers offense will struggle, and I feel more confident in Philly's defense than I do in Philly's offense. Okay, let me just write something. Thank you, Davey. Okay. Davey says, hi, John. It's David McCarthy. No worries about not noticing my $20 super chat right away last week. I sent it right as you were bringing guests on, and you got to it at the end. It made me feel good. I imagine it's confusing to people because on YouTube, I'm Dave McCarthy, but for some reason, when Patreon asked what we should call you, I said, Davey. Got you. Yeah. But yeah, I appreciate it, Dave. Yeah, man. I felt bad about that. So felt bad about that, but glad you were watching the show when it finished. Cameron, as someone new on Lawson's Patreon, when the NFL season is up, do you still continue to stay active in here with other sports? Yeah. Soccer, and we're doing MLB this year. No guarantees on MLB, but soccer, I'm pretty fucking good. We got a really good soccer bet up this week, up for Saturday. Monday we hit a plus 150. So yeah, man, we have some fun with soccer, and my output isn't what it should be because NFL is time consuming. Like I said with the prop video, I spend more time on the prop video than any other video, as crazy as that sounds. Okay, Jeremy Will. I didn't really notice that the Texans are equal to the Chargers. Yeah, I think it's a more equal game than people say. Like, listen, I get why everyone wants to bet the Chargers. I get why most of the money, most of the bets would be on the Chargers. I completely agree with people's sentiment, but I just wanted to come on this week and say, like, listen, this game is closer than people think. And yeah, this game's going to come down to coaching, and very curious to see what D'Amico does. We've seen Harbaugh clamp up in these high leverage situations, so let's just keep that in mind. We've seen him punt at the opposing 39-yard line when he's got a great field goal kicker on 4th and 2. We've seen him not go for it. So yeah, man. So yeah. Matt, I would stay away from Amari Cooper, but maybe you have a better read of the Bills' ball distribution than me. That Amari Cooper move just never took off. It just never really took off. Like, I just think Shakir's the guy to target. I think Shakir's only 54.5 from my memory. Justin Barker, McConkey over 74.5 receiving yards. Every single week we go over on McConkey. And it like I just said, like, we don't need to overthink it. We don't need to get into schematics. I just keep saying, who else is going to fucking catch the ball? Right, Justin? Like, that's what I'm saying. I like the Herbert over passing yards, the Herbert over rushing yards. I don't know if I really want to get into that. J.K. Dobbins over 60 rush yards. I don't know if I really want to get in that. Joe Mixon over 60 rushing yards. I think that's something that interests me. So yeah, like that's my take on it, Justin. Okay. Maureen says, Justin, really like the Herbert props. Yeah. I mean, I've been dabbling with Herbert props the whole year to mostly success. I think the only week we put him on the player prop show that he didn't hit was the Atlanta week. And that was an odd game, to say the least. That was a really odd game. We were lucky to cover that. We were lucky to get our money back with the Chargers in that game, to be honest. Marine, hey, John, I feel like the Rams are a good teaser option. Can you recommend me a couple of teasers? Certainly, Marine. Well, with the teasers, I would go... obviously, Rams at plus 2.5. I mean, that's the most mathematical sense. Like, plus 1.5, plus 2.5 are the best mathematically for 6-point teasers. They always hit. or you can bring like a -6 down to a pick 'em. Those three spreads are mathematically the best teaser options that always hit. So obviously Rams would be an option. Although you do worry about, the Vikings have, put up a lot of points, but they let teams back in the games. Even when they look at the two Green Bay games, they blew out Green Bay. They were up like 20 points in both games. They were up 30 in one of the games. And then Green Bay came back to make it a 1-score game. So that's the Vikings. I think you should be safe there. I would tease the Bills down. The Ravens at like 9.5 is a bit of an issue. If you can get the Ravens at 8.5 and tease that down, I would be fine with it. I just wouldn't do the 6-point teaser with the Ravens and bring them down to -3.5. Like, that's just not good mathematically. And I would bring the Texans up. I would bring the Texans up as well. So yeah, that's my initial take on the questions. All right, let's get to the next question. Derek, hey John, what 1 to 2 games would you take off the 7-point teaser? Thank you as always. Houston +10, I would leave that. That makes a lot of sense to me. Baltimore -2.5, I would leave that. Buffalo minus 1.5 points, that makes sense to me. Philly +2, let me think on it. Tampa Bay +4, Mini +4.5. I would take Philly and Minnesota off of there. I would take Philly and Minnesota off of there, and I would go Tampa Bay +4, Buffalo -1.5, Baltimore -2.5, Houston +10. With Minnesota at +4.5, you should be more than golden. I got to tell you, though, outside of the bet I posted for the first quarter on Patreon in that Rams-Vikings game, I was very, very flabbergasted when I had to pick that game on Tuesday. The more the week goes on and the more this moved, the more I see everything happening with the forest fires, like I mentioned in the upset video. I think that's going to have some sort of effect on the Rams and Chargers. But I think this game being played in Arizona really helps the Vikings. Now, we're hearing that 30% of the Rams season ticket holders bought tickets in Zona and they're going to go. Well, that's great, but I still think it helps the Vikings. And I'm not like a big home field guy, because you guys know, there's maybe 5-6 home fields in this league that really changed the landscape of a game. I'm not saying it's easy going on the road or anything, because it's not, but I think you guys understand where I'm going from if you listen to me long-term on that. But I do think playing in Arizona helps the Vikings drastically. I do. Joel Mendoza. Hey, Lawson, how do you feel about the Bills and Ravens 2 6-point teaser? Maybe throwing the Texans to cover as well. What do you think overall? Well, I do think the Texans cover, but even though I sound confident now about the Texans Chargers, that game was like a slight lean from me. It's a slight lean. It's not a strong lean. It's not a money pick or anything. So just keep that in mind. Although, man, I kind of think I'm right about this matchup, but you can't trust the Texans offensively. And also this Texans defense has had a lot of mental lapses this year. Like, you guys remember at home, they're playing against the Titans and they fucking gave up like 27 points in the second half to Will Levis and the Titans. I mean, or they gave up fucking a 20-piece to Mac Jones in Jacksonville. So there's been some really scary second half performances from the Texans, but I'm kind of going back to preseason rankings. I just love this Texans defense. I think they're going to come good. But we saw that pass rush not have too big an impact against the Chiefs, and the Chiefs haven't blocked anyone the whole year. So just keep in mind, the Texans are a very inconsistent outfit. The Chargers are definitely more consistent, but the Chargers have severe limitations too. And anytime the Chargers have played a good offense, they've gotten fucking curb stomped. Like, you guys remember when I picked the alt line Tampa -5? and the Chargers were the popular bet of the week. Like, we've seen this Chargers defense get roughed up by any good offense. And, you get to play the Raiders. You get to play the Chiefs when they're struggling. You get to play a lot of bad teams, and you can look a lot better. You can look a lot better when Kirk Cousins throwing 4 or 5 interceptions, fucking 3 interceptions in the red zone. And that's credit to the Chargers. This Chargers defense is extremely well coached. Minter might have the coaching advantage on D'Amico, because we know D'Amico calls the plays and he's totally responsible for the Texans defense. We could agree that Minter has the coaching advantage on the Texans, but the Texans definitely have the personnel advantage on defense. And I think even on offense, the Texans still have the personnel advantage. And I did just mention, the Texans laying an egg in the second half against the Titans at home, but I do think the home road splits for the Texans can't be understated. Now, I get it. I get it. I was saying Philly was a better road team this year than home team, and I stand by that. But let's be honest, every single team performs better at home 90% of the time, and the Texans are no different. But their home road splits are really big, and I think the Texans playing at home drastically helps them in this game. As for the Bills teaser, that's great. Like I said, like, if you get the Ravens -9 or 9.5, like it is on a lot of books, I know on DraftKings it's -8.5. That's great. That's perfect teaser option. It's just, I can't say I'm in love with like the Ravens -3.5. But you guys should steal my 2-team 6-point teasers. Like, you guys seen me post about 6 this year. I'm 5-1, and they pay out -110, -115. If your book is a bunch of cheapskates, they pay out -125. Why doesn't anyone do the 2-team 6-point teasers? They've been gold for me the whole year, and I post them on Patreon. And I gotta say, man, out of the 1,000 people on Patreon, I think maybe like 70 might follow my advice on those, and they always hit. They always hit. Something crazy has to happen for them not to hit. When you start doing like the 4, 5, 6 leg teasers, fuck, bro, you can work. You can work. You could be a genius. You could be Picasso, and there's gonna be something that gets under your craw. I mean, this league is built on parlay busters, man. Joel okay, always learning. Over under 22.5 receiving yards for John Menchie. Over. It's funny. I did the video on Thursday. I got the 19.5 from Bet365. You see, they're watching us. So now it goes up 3 yards. But like I said, I even like Menchie in the alt lines. I would say go up to 37.5 on Menchie if you want to hit the alts. Maybe your book doesn't have that, so you can go over 40 yards if you want to hit the alts. I think he's going to play a huge factor. I don't have inside information. I just saw him trending in the right direction. I thought he was going to have a big game with the Chiefs. He picked up a bitch injury, which kept him out of that game, and it desperately hurt the Texans in that matchup. So, yeah, man, 22.5 is a bit inflated, but I'd still like it. Josh Billet. Hey, Lawson, appreciate all the hard work this season. I appreciate you getting on Patreon, brother. Let's get this money in the playoffs. Questions on a field goal prop for you. Do you like both Chargers and Texans to each score over 1.5 field goals? Both kickers are automatic, and it's a playoff game with pretty conservative coaches. You are right. Harbaugh gets really fucking conservative. The problem with Harbaugh, he's got a great kicker, but we saw against the Chiefs when we had that +4, the guy's kicking 58-yard field goals, 59-yard field goals for fun the whole year. Harbaugh punts when it's a 55-yard field goal in the first half against Pat Mahomes. Make it make sense. But that's just to illustrate what you said, Josh, about both of these coaches are conservative. For a more DGEM bet, there's each team to score a field goal in each half, paying 600. Well, plus 600. Well, I like, I don't like the plus 600, obviously, but maybe if you wanted to just play with that for fun, that's fine. Yeah, I think the Chargers and Texans kick field goals. So I do like your bet, but you have to remember Fairbairn for the Texans has been really, really volatile this year. Really, really volatile. Um, the Chargers field goal kicker's been absolutely excellent. He's been a fucking Federal Reserve for us printing money this year. He's reliable. I think he's the best kicker going into this postseason. I mean, maybe you could say Harrison Buckner, but I mean, Buckner was hurt, so we'll see how he is when he comes back. I think he played kicked in 3 games since he's been back. But I think the Chargers have the best field goal kicker, and the Texans. I think that's a good bet, Josh. I think it's a good bet. Okay, here we go. Okay, let me just reload the Patreon questions. Yeah, Chris, I got the Josh Allen over rushing yards in the prop video. Okay, John, I feel that the majority of the games this round are safe for betting the totals. The only bets I like against the spread is Buffalo -9.5, Tampa -3, also Chargers -3. Yeah, man, it's not a big slate. It's not a big slate, so it's definitely not a big slate. I'll be betting one total this wild card round. So yeah, man, pretty excited for it. Hi, John. Don't trust the Pittsburgh game. They're playing for the coach. Listen, on the upset video, I could see a game flow, a game state where the Steelers could steal this game. That's how insane it is. I'm still sticking by my pick, Ravens winning the cover. I just would not bet. I would not lay the points at the Ravens. I would definitely not lay the points at the Ravens. But I'm sticking by the pick on Tuesday. But I see a game flow. I see a game state where the Steelers can steal this. I just don't want to see Russell Wilson get the credit. So, no, Leo, you know what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying. Leo, let me get you on. Let me send the invite on Patreon. Because let's just talk about that game. Okay, here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. I'll just send it on Patreon, man. But yeah, man, I'll get into the Ravens game with him. But yeah, man, a lot to say about that game. A lot to say. Yeah, man, we'll definitely talk about that game. I do like some of my team totals in that. On the over-under video, no, Coop, they will find some way to cover. Coop, how are you feeling about your Texans this week? I meant to check in with you. The more I think about it, the more I think my analysis is fucking golden. Not trying to be a fucking narcissist, but the more I think about it, we all love the sound of our own voice, right? And I was playing the video back and I was playing the upset video back. I'm like, hey, that John Lawson guy's making a lot of fucking sense. And I just told people, I don't have a strong lean in the game. I don't. But eventually this Texans defense has to play the top 5 unit on paper. And eventually this Texans team has to fucking respond because they've been sleepwalking the whole year. And we're seeing Joe Mixon's best year as a pro by far, bro. I don't care about the stats. Someone will fucking spit out some stats and Cincy, how he was better with Cincy one year. This is Joe Mixon's best year by far. And Chargers play a lot of 2 deep shell. I mean, they're going to give the Texans a lot of soft boxes. Joe Mixon can get going. Maybe more Stroud on the play action. Maybe a little bit of Menchie mixed in there just to help Nico Collins. Chargers play a lot of zone. I don't know how Stroud's been against zone this year. it's kind of been bad against everything. But I don't know how Stroud's been against zone this year. Stroud ripped man-to-man his rookie year. So I think the Chargers are going to stick with their game plan, go zone, have Derwin James up front causing trouble. It's just, I think people are confusing a lot of good Chargers defensive performances with talent. And if you look at the Chargers, I mean, I feel like, I just feel like sometimes, like when I post bets, like Chargers win us money, so some people don't watch the game. They should bet what I put on Patreon. Like the Chargers have been winning us money, and we know when to ride them. I'm just saying, since week 8, their pass rush has been really fucking bad. Like Khalil Mack slowed down. Bosa, the Bosa brother, he's been injured. It seems like this is like the last year of his career. I'm just saying, man, like the way to beat the Texans is get pressure up the gut and blitz guys. And I just wonder if the Chargers are going to do that. Yeah. Mixon's got to run the ball. He's going to get a lot of touches. So, I mean, of course, teams are going to change shit in the playoffs. That's why the playoffs are so hard to predict, man. I mean, the playoffs are really hard to predict because we're going to see some teams try to break tendency. Like, but can I be honest? Like, I don't think we're going to see the Chargers play like man-to-man and press the opposing team. Like, I just think we're going to see them play the same shit, the same zones, rush 4. Let the other team run the ball, protect the young secondary. D'Amico definitely needs to push a different button against the Chargers, though. I mean, I think it's more likely we see a 180 game plan switch from the Texans, and it's welcomed from some of the shit we've been seeing. And at what point does this Texan secondary play like they should? I mean, I guess that's the big question coming into this game and why it's like only like a slight lean on my part. It's just, when is the secondary going to play like they should? And why didn't Will Anderson and Danielle Hunter absolutely whoop the Chiefs' offensive line's ass? That was one of the weirdest things I've seen. The Chiefs haven't blocked anyone in 5 weeks leading up, and then they're able to block 2 of the best defensive ends in the league. It's been disappointing this year, man. Yeah. And I definitely. I mean, turnovers are going to be the name of the game. I saw someone saying the best player prop to bet is a Stroud interception. I don't know. I wouldn't go that far. Like, dude takes care of the ball. Like, we can be critical on him, but he definitely takes care of the ball. Yeah, they're going to play safe football. Yo, Leo, I sent the invite. Okay, oh no, Leo, my bad. I didn't. I think okay, here we go. My bad, Leo. My bad. Okay. But yeah, man, I mean, it's fucking good game, man. Let's see the schedule. Okay. Chargers, Texans is Saturday, 6:30. Actually, 4:30. My shit is 2 hours ahead of you guys. Steelers, Ravens at 8. Yeah, I'm waiting to just unload my take on that. My dad thinks the Broncos can beat the Bills. Tried talking him out of it, but he says that should be the long shot just to get his voice in here. Commanders, Bucks. I think I made a great case for the Bucks. I don't know if anyone wants me to go into that game.
What's good, bro?
Yo, Leo, what's up? And Chris, I'll get you on after Leo 1 second. But Leo, what's up, man? Like, let's go to this game. Are you going to the game?
Yes, I'm going to the game. I'm being there.
How much were tickets?
Well, I bought them early. My ticket was $380.
Ooh.
$380 something.
Aren't you a season ticket holder? You're at every fucking game.
Nah, I'm not. I'm not season ticket holder. I will be next year though. But yeah, the tickets drop. But
All
anyway,
right.
this
All
game.
right, got you. So let me lay the scene for you. This is going to sound all over the place, but let's see if you follow me. Okay, let me lay the scene now. I'll let you go off. Okay, obviously on the Tuesday video, I had Ravens to win in the cover. I'm sticking by the pick. Um, I'm sticking by the pick. But there's one thing that you have told me, and we have both noticed about the Ravens. I worry about Todd Monken. I'm worried that Zay Flowers isn't out. And I don't like going to cliches like, oh, Tomlin plays the Ravens tough and they don't play right against him, or Lamar Jackson chokes in the playoffs. Like, I don't like those narratives. I think those narratives are fucking lazy. But I am just worried. I see a game state where this can be completely ugly with no Zay Flowers. So we get Joey Porter Jr. against Bateman, and they play a ton of man-to-man, and no one's getting separation, and Monken starts doing some wild shit getting away from the run. Like, this should just be like a run-heavy game. Like, that's what I'm saying. It should be a run-heavy game. I'll let you go off.
Like, I think, like, even if we did have Zay, we will still Derrick Henry, like, this already, like, I bet at Derrick Henry over 20 and a half rushing attempts, bro. You're gonna get like 25, 26 rushing attempts. He had like 8. I had the same bet last game. It was at 17 and a half. He had 8 in the first quarter, like 5 minutes in the game. So it's like, we already know what we want to do, and we at home. So I feel like this game gonna be dictated off of big plays. Like, it's not gonna be like no steady shit. Like, it's gonna be based off of big plays. Like, we're gonna be trapped. Like, they're gonna have a back against the wall at times in the game. Like, it's gonna be them big third down conversions. Them we got Justice Hill back. Like, he's came through. Justice Hill came through a few times on like 3rd and 20. Like in some games, like it's gonna be crunchy. It's gonna be a real crunchy game. Like,
well, that's a word for it. I think they're gonna fucking make it ugly, man. And one thing I'm looking towards is I want to see if you guys actually run it. Because like you said, if you tell me Derrick Henry gets fucking 26 carries, all right, like, I'll go in the bet 365 right now and lay it with the Ravens. I just know you're worried about Monken, man. And Monken's, dude, firstly, I'm not saying Monken's a bad offensive coordinator. I don't think you've ever said anything like that. It's just, dude is all over the place. But maybe Zay Flowers being out, maybe he'll get focused, and maybe it'll just be simple. I do like the Lamar Jackson under passing yards, though. I don't know how you feel about that.
I ain't gonna lie, I said that a few times, and I got burned one time betting that shit against the Giants. So I want to bet the under passing yards because he could get over 218 passing yards. Like, we still gonna get the passing yards. Like, Zay Flowers, like, we got guys like Tylen Wallace. We got certain guys that I know as a Ravens fan, like, these are nice. Like, these guys are nice, but for some reason they don't get snaps because our head coach is some shit. But it's like I got a good feeling about this game. Like, I'm not betting on the spread because I know it's way more better stuff I could put my money on. Like, minus, like, 9.5, 10.5.
Yeah, like, it's minus 9.5. And Chris, I'll get you on soon. And that's what I'm saying, man. Like, the minus 9.5, it just sucks, man. Because I honestly thought, listen, we've been waiting to get against the Steelers a long time. Okay, luckily we were able to get against them with the Bengals. Still had to sweat like crazy on that shit, but I've been waiting to get against the Steelers a long time, especially with like a team that has a top 5, top 7 offense where, if we're laying 6.5, we don't have to worry. And then it gets up to 9.5, and you're just like, fuck me, man. Like, fuck me. That's like Mike Tomlin territory to cover. And then you're so exposed to the backdoor cover as well. But like you said, like you said, man, this game's going to come down to big plays. And I don't see the Steelers getting big plays. Like, I think that story of Russell Wilson lobbing deep balls and getting 3 or 4 a game, I think that shit's over.
That shit is done. That shit is done. Like, they might not get more than 13 points. Like, our defense going to go crazy tomorrow. It's going to be crazy. But I'm saying, like, I just want to bet a 9.5 spread. Like, who's really, like, pressed about betting that 9.5 spread? That's some crazy shit. That's what
people want to bet it. I people want to bet it. You saw what I had to say on Patreon. I said, I certainly don't want anyone laying points in the Ravens game. And it wasn't like me like changing course or saying like, oh, I think the Steelers are going to win, or it's just, come on, that's going to be ugly. Like, this is like Steelers to cover all the way.
Damn near 30 times. There's no point in the spread. Like, but let me not say that before that shit go up to 23, man. 23.
Yeah, no. But one thing I like is the Steelers team total in the first half under 7.5. That's the one I like. So that's what I'm probably targeting for this game, just for a fun bet. So
under 17.5?
No, for the first half, the Steelers team total is 7.5. I'm going under.
That's funny.
I think they get 2 field goals at most. But like you said, you pretty much just said your team total, you handicapped the team total at 13. So Vegas isn't too far.
But they could get like 10 in the first half and 3 in the second half.
For sure. I just think they start slow. Like, I think they get points. I think when they get their points, I think they get some garbage time points, maybe get some in the second half, maybe get a turnover off of you guys, something crazy. You know, some shit's going to happen.
He got picked in like damn near every game against the Steelers. Like, so I want.
Well, you remember that first game in Heinz Field, man, when Russell threw the interception in the end zone, and then we saw that miracle interception off Justice Hill, which how many miracles does a team get? So like that's one reason why I'm not hating anyone for wanting to just go like -9.5 Ravens, because eventually luck runs out, cream rises to the crop, etc. But fuck, man, like I'm just waiting for some crazy shit to happen.
Yeah, because they look good. They only gonna look good for like the first half. They gonna fall. Every playoff. You look at every playoff game we play at home against the Texans. They were making some shit work. Making some shit. It was 10-10 in the first half. Second half, completely flat. Shut out. Against the Chiefs, they're working in that first half. I don't even think they scored in the second half.
No, man. No.
We get shit together in the second half, so.
I think the Texans team that went on the road last year is drastically better than the Steelers team that's going to come this year. So that's where I'm at. What's your best bet this weekend?
Shit, my best bet, Derrick Henry rush attempts over 29 rush attempts.
I like that. It needs to happen, but you want to know what? Here's just the last thing I'm going to say about the Ravens. I just don't like when I have to coach my bets. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's kind of what you were saying earlier in the year with Monken. Sometimes, like, you want to bet the Ravens, and we've been saying their value this whole year. It should be their year. They should go to a Super Bowl. But I just feel like with the Ravens, I have to coach my bets. And when I get into that point, I get worried. But I like the Henry over, man.
It's another one. Justice Hill over 17.5 rushing yards is also one that I like. That I really like. That's like an auto bet almost.
But yeah, man. Any last words? So you're going Steelers to cover, right?
Nah, Ravens.
Like I said, I'm sticking with the Tuesday pick. Ravens win and cover.
It's just, I feel like we got the recipe. Like, we gonna either cover by the hook, or we just gonna completely just blow them out, something like that.
If it's not this year, man, it has to be this year.
I don't see it being close. I see it being like we just handled them. So like, but they hadn't had Pickens, but we got something for Pickens. Like, we got shit for that.
Don't you kind of think he's checked out?
Yeah, he on some shit.
Dude, that shit was crazy. I think it was last week. Man, that shit was crazy.
Young.
All right, bro. I'll let you go. Good luck. Enjoy the game. Post a photo on Instagram.
Got you, bro. I'll talk to you later after the game, after we cash.
All right, got you, man. Have a good one. I'm going to follow the Henry one.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's just I didn't lay out like the game flow, but I'm gonna get Chris on. I want to just read some comments 1 second. Okay. Yeah, I didn't like picking at all. Kels, what's Van Jefferson's props? What's up, Chris?
Hey Johnny, how you doing, bud?
What's up, man? Thank you for waiting.
Of course, of course.
All right, yo, Chris, go on what you want to talk about.
Well, you were just talking about the Pittsburgh Ravens game. I think you're spot on. I got it at 10 now. I'm not going to bet it, but I think the Ravens cover this game. My thing is the over. I'm going to play it safe and just go with the over for the game at 43.5. That's my play on this game. I just feel that Pittsburgh is, they're limping into the playoffs. They're coming in on 4 straight losses. I think that Tomlin can only do so much. I think Pittsburgh knows that they're defeated. And everybody's talking about how they know each other's playbooks and this and that. I don't think it matters at this point. I think. Yeah, I just think that the Ravens are just better all the way around on both sides of the ball. I think that Russell's going to get exposed this game. He's probably going to have some poorly advised throws that's going to cause some turnovers, and it's going to be a blowout. But again, 10 points on a division game in the playoffs is a lot to lay. So there's money to be made in other places, and I'm thinking over the 43.5 is where I'm going to go with it.
But and Chris, like your book's fucking you because it's at 10 nowhere and you can't do 10. Like you mathematically, you just can't do 10. Like if like you just can't do 10.
No, I'm not even looking at it. As soon as I saw that, I was like, it's way too much for a playoff game. These guys are in the playoffs for a reason. And these guys, they know each other so well. I mean, what is it, like the third time they're playing this year. So I mean, like I said, it's going to be a battle of who turns the ball over, and I think Pittsburgh and Russell is going to be the ones that are going to be turning the ball over.
Can I have you respond? Sorry to cut you off, Chris. I need to respond to this comment. I'll let you respond to it. Sure. Azul says, "Quotes: No, they are defeated is crazy talk for NFL guys." I don't know. I don't know, Azul. Like losing 4 straight games and getting your ass kicked in the process is mentally challenging. And it's an average football team with a very good coach. That's it. And the last thing I'll say before Chris goes, like, bro, I was looking at Arthur Smith's press conference this week. I'm not just doing this to prove my point, but he sounds like a guy who wants to put in Justin Fields. So I don't know, man. They do look defeated. So that's my take on it.
Yeah.
No, Ernesto, I don't understand it either. That's Ernesto. I don't understand like the -10 or -9.5. Like I don't understand it. That's why I'm not betting it. I would not bet it, but I know people will. So, yo, Chris, where you at, man? Anyways,
no, I'm here. I was just waiting for you to finish.
Oh no, I finished. So I
understand that my comment may be a little bold. Saying defeated. You may think that I meant that they're not going to come out to try to play tomorrow, but that's not what I'm getting at. What I'm saying is they're people are human, right? And when I say that they're defeated, I'm talking it's a mental thing. And Tomlin could only do so much. I'm saying he could only coach so much. He could only brainwash so much. But when you're seeing and you're watching ESPN and you're watching all these shows and you're seeing everybody is downplaying you and upplaying the Ravens, that takes a toll. And when you know what you're going up against. And I'm saying it comes to a point where it's difficult to overcome your own mental, and I think that's going to be difficult for Tomlin to do. Is for Tomlin to psych his team into thinking that they're better than the Ravens come tomorrow, and I don't think it's going to happen. And I think that it's going to come to a point where the talent is going to show on both sides of the ball and the talent on both sides of the ball, defensively and offensively at this point. Because Watt has been good, but where has he really been the last 4 weeks? And
He hasn't
I
done
just think.
much this whole year, man.
Yeah, I mean, and it's coming to a point now where the Ravens are looking for a Super Bowl, and I don't think that people talking about and they hear all this noise about how Lamar gets nervous in playoff games and his head's not right. I think that narrative is going to get destroyed tomorrow, and everyone's going to be proven correct.
I gotta just respond to 2 Patreon questions. This is from Navi. Sup, brother? Happy Friday. How much does the playoff environment change the way we predict outcomes? And Michael, man, I sent an invite. If Lauren's still on, I sent an invite. Man, I think it changes a lot because I don't know if Chris will agree, but I think we saw the start of the playoffs when the Vikings played the Lions. And I'm not complaining or coping here. I already said this point. I just felt like the refs let a lot more go, and I fully support that. And I think they'll do that in the playoffs, like in Chiefs games at Arrowhead. Probably not going to happen. But for most games, I think they're going to let guys play. Like that's what I think changes. I guess one thing I've been pondering the whole week is, man, a lot of people, Chris, here's one thing. A lot of people act like these teams are static going into the playoffs. For instance, a team plays bad week 18 and 17, and they're going to continue playing bad for the playoffs. I don't know. I don't think it works that way. Like there's surprise after surprise every single year, and these teams get up for the playoffs. Maybe that's me wishful thinking. And that's one reason why I'm trying to avoid betting the Chargers, because we'll get into that game, I'm sure, with Chris. I just think these teams surprise, and we see a lot of changing shit. So that would be my response. And to the other Patreon question, what's up, J Law? This is from J Bar. What's up, Law? I got a sneaky one for you. Tylan Wallace over 10.5 reception yards. Leo likes it. Man, it makes sense because, like I said, I'll just go to the schematics of the player prop. Steelers have one good corner. I think they're going to play man-to-man heavy like 70 to 80% of the time. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong. So I think they're going to play heavy man-to-man against the Ravens wide receivers. We know Andrews. We know the tight ends are pretty good, but they're not like quick separation creators. I think Wallace is the best separation creator they have. So I would say that's a good bet. And like I said, Joey Porter Jr., the only good corner is going to be on Bateman. And I think that's going to be a fucking issue for the Ravens. It's one reason why I'm worried about the game. David Montgomery coming back for the playoffs. I don't know, man. I think he will, but I don't think Dan Campbell should rush him. I'm going to bring Michael Mann. All right, Chris, what game you want to talk about? What's up, Mike?
I just wanted to make a quick point about what you were just talking about in terms of the Ravens. I think that Lamar creates a lot of the space because he dances around back there and gives the opportunity for his receivers, especially those tight ends, to get separation after their route is done and they're not open. They're able to create space after the play is broken. So I think that's the reason why his tight ends have so much success in terms of big yardage plays. Because once he starts dancing around, once the play is broken, he's able to create plays with his legs. He creates time, and then Likely and Andrews get open. And you've seen Andrews come alive. Andrews has come alive the past few games, and I think that's going to be a vital. Yeah, they're going to be a vital part of the offense this week, I think.
What's up, Mike?
Hey,
What's up,
Mike.
gents? Can you hear me today?
Yes, sir.
Here you go.
Do I sound like Darth Vader again?
No, your pitch and tone is great. No, you
right.
Last week your tone was going up and down. It was really
Bro, it was crazy.
Yeah.
And what's funny about that, I got several messages saying that I sounded better than I normally do.
That's bullshit.
Like that my voice, like they preferred my voice sounding like that.
Oh, Jesus.
Like I know they're fucking with me, but I still thought that was funny. So shout out to all the people who did that.
It was funny.
Yeah.
So, Mike, before we go on to some games, what day do we do the opening line show? Like, do we wait to after the Vikings game?
I'm game for either or. I don't think that Vikings Rams game is going to affect seeding too much. So if you want to do it Sunday night, like I'm game.
I think Sunday night will be good, and then we
Yeah.
can just guess what the lines will be if whoever wins. All right,
Yeah.
let's talk about
It's-
some games.
Yeah, and the AFC side will be set. The crappy thing about that Rams-Vikings game is that it's a 1-point spread, so it's not like we can definitively pick it. But I think we'll have a pretty clear idea of who's going to be playing who by the end of that game,
Yeah, so
or by the end of Sunday.
You know
I
what?
hope.
My book does suck because I got 2.5 on that game.
Yeah, it's 2.5 now on most of them, so they're not screwing you. It moved up today,
Oh, I heard that.
so you're good on that. But all right, Mike, let's go.
Yeah,
What do you want to talk about?
Okay, so I have a surprise for you guys. I'm gonna get killed in the comments for this, I'm sure, but I genuinely believe the Bills should be on upset alert this week against the
boy.
Broncos.
My dad thinks that. So.
Listen,
That's
I
wishful
want
thinking.
hold your high horse for a second. I want you to just take Josh Allen and Bo Nix out of this matchup and look at the team versus team matchup without quarterbacks. And when you're finished doing that, you will see the Broncos have a litany of advantages in this game. You have Sean Payton going up against Sean McDermott, who has notoriously struggled against these alpha male offensive coordinators. You have a pretty good pass protecting offensive line in the Broncos going up against. It's a good unit, Lawson. It's a good unit.
Oh, God.
You have them going up against the strength of the Bills' defense in their pass rush, I believe. On the other side of the ball, you have I won't say bad, but decent subpar wide receivers going up against a pretty good secondary that Denver has. And you get done doing that, and you just think there's enough matchups here that favor the Broncos to make this a game. And when you see that, and you feel like the underdog has a superior coach, you think that's enough to cover an 8-point spread. I'm not picking it. I think the Bills are going to win, but if you want to tease this down to like -5, -6, I don't think it's a terrible idea.
Well, outside of Surtain, how dominant it really is the secondary of the Broncos?
They've been. Go ahead, Lawson.
Well, it's like Riley Moss has been really good in the slot, but we saw what happened when Levi Wallace had to cover Jerry Jeudy on Monday night, and I do think the secondary is pretty vulnerable, but it just depends how good you think Riley Moss is. Like, because certainly when he came back after being injured, the secondary looked a lot better again. And like, here's what I'm saying. Here's what I would say about that. Like, I think you're right. I'm worried about McDermott in these matchups. Firstly, I think that's like the crystal point. But with the Broncos offensive line, they're giving up a ton of quick pressures this year. They have gotten better, but I also think the Broncos have had some favorable scheduling. And I don't like doing that, saying, oh, they didn't play anyone, like, because that's not true. Like, come on, like, I'm not going to do that. But Mike, look at the schedule. They've had some pretty favorable scheduling. Really.
Oh, I don't deny it.
No, really, like the only good team they beat, like, okay, we saw they should have beat the Chiefs in Arrowhead, but really, like, the only big marquee win was Atlanta at home. And I would just emphasize
Atlanta at home. Atlanta at home.
But I could be wrong, but I'm just running the schedule through my head right now. And I think that's their marquee win, not taking anything away. Like, because I hate when people like do that, but
Atlanta sucks.
Dude, they suck.
Yeah, they're bad.
But you know, and okay, but anyways, Mike, I kind of agree with what you're saying. It's just, bro, this receiving core from.
Can I just add 2 cents here on this game, please, real quick? You know what it is that, you know, people are punch drunk from what happened last week, and you have to understand that Denver was playing against the third string and second string of the KC. KC's second and third string wasn't even playing properly. They weren't even trying to play. You really think an Andy Reid team just gets blown out by 30 points? That doesn't happen. Okay, they weren't even trying to play. Nobody was trying to get injured. And what's happening now? People are taking that game and they're eating that pill, thinking that this is what the Denver Broncos are, and they're not. Okay,
I think dad's excited. I think one reason why my dad's excited about the Broncos this weekend is kind of the same thing, but the week before against Cincinnati. Think people got really excited about that. I mean, it was maybe the best game of the year outside of Jameis's in the snow. But yeah, man, agree with the sentiment, but
I
I'm
just
saying- I'm
look at.
thinking-
Let me
I'm
respond to
thinking-
this. I think my biggest proponent for saying why I think Denver covers this is I think Sean Payton could potentially school Sean McDermott. I mean, shit, he did it for 5 years in Carolina. So
Yeah,
I
I
don't
think this
think it.
game goes beyond coaching. I think that I think Allen steps out on the field and he's pissed off, and he is going to run up the score against this team. And I think he's going to do it with his legs. He's going to do it with his arm. He's going to create. You're going to see the Superman that Josh Allen is. And me being a Miami Dolphin fan, I hate to see it, but I've seen it so many times before. And this Denver team is not this on the same level. It's just not. Maybe coaching wise, but again, when you have a player like this and he's able to create from nothing, I'm telling you, I've seen it a million times, and this is a bad spot for Denver.
because
I got you, and that's why. I mean, I still think the Bills are going to win. I just, I really think Denver's offense could make this a game. And if you want to bet for this game, go bet the over. That's my take.
I think the over's a money pick. Also, Mike.
Either way,
But here's the thing, man.
The
like,
over is a money pick.
and a lot of people are excited about the Broncos defense in the chat. Man, I agree with the sentiment to a certain extent, but look at what Herbert did to him. Look at what Burrow did to him. Whenever you get a very good offense against these, listen, none of these defenses are elite this year. I'm just searching for an elite defense. Like, we just don't have one. We had like 3 last year, but we don't have any elite defenses this year. So I just think Josh Allen is going to eat them alive. And I think he's going to run the fucking rock a ton, which
He is. I think Mike is right with the over being the money pick, but Francesa, his money pick is Denver. He says that 9.5 is the pick of the week. I'm not betting it. I like what Mike is saying with the 47.5 over, but Francesa is all over Bills this week.
I think if you want to be bold and move it down to +6 and just put a little bit on it, I think that's a decent bet too.
all right, let's get to the next game.
Can
And
we
Lauren,
talk
I
about-
sent the invite to your email.
I want to talk about the Charger game.
Yeah, go on. Dude, everyone pretty much like bit my ear off on that. So, but go on.
Okay, so let's forget about the -3 real quick, because we know that's what everybody is chewing your ear off about. Okay, but the total, what are we looking at in the total? I mean, is under the pick, you think?
I'm not, that was one I didn't have a strong lean on. I like the Texans team total over 19.5, and I'm kind of leaning towards over now, but I would not bet the total in this game. So that's where
Heard
I'm
that. Okay, so I'm probably gonna leave that alone. I already bet the Chargers -3 on a small one, because when I woke up and first saw it, I was like, I have to bet. I was like, that's it. That's the game. Boom. I hit it. But I only I only hit it small. But now that I'm hearing you, I'm probably not going to hit it again. Usually, what happens is when the lines come out, I hit it small, and then as the week goes on, if the line doesn't change and I feel still good about it, I hit it again.
But Chris,
but,
if you feel strong about it, go hit it again. Because like I said, like this is like the smallest of leans.
I have a question for Lawson.
on.
So you've said a couple times this week that the Chargers are kind of, I don't want to say limping, but like, not flying high coming in this game.
Yeah, I don't think it's finished. Okay, go on.
The Chargers offense has scored 34, 34, and 40 points over the last 3 weeks.
And
That's about as
Josh is
damn
coming
good
on,
as they
right?
get. Like, I feel like they're playing. The reason I feel good about the Chargers, at the end of the day, I feel like they are playing better football at the right time. They're the more cohesive unit right now. I think that the whole, blaze and fire situation going on in LA, I think that's only going to galvanize the team and make them want to get this win more, for everyone who's been suffering the last, couple days. So, I take all those factors in. I look at how bad Houston has played over the last month of the season, and I really like LA. Like, I can't do what I did with the Broncos and, like, go matchup by matchup and tell you why they're going to win. But just looking at, the last couple weeks, who the more cohesive unit is, I think it's the Chargers, and that's why I'm going to bet it.
Well, Mike,
Mike,
can I
put
just
up.
say one thing about this? I'm sorry, but Mike, Houston. Everybody seems to be on Houston this week, and not everybody. I'm saying
No.
a lot of the money's on the Chargers, but I'm saying most of the talking people that are on, they're kind of like fading the Chargers in this game, and I'm trying to figure out why because I just don't see it. I understand. I mean, like you said, like the offensive play of Houston has been really horrific over the last month and a half, and and the Chargers defense is good, so I don't understand. The Houston has a good run defense, but and the Chargers have a good pass defense. So I'm trying to figure out, who Mixon hasn't been really running the ball hasn't been running the rock that great. So is Houston's running game really strong? Where the Chargers' weakness is? No, I think that people are talking about Stroud and how he's going to be the savior and trying to throw the ball this game, but the Chargers' secondary has been pretty good. I'm trying to figure out where everybody's trying to fade the Chargers here in what aspect. I know
I
John's
will
got
say,
it,
I don't think it's crazy to say Houston is the more talented team.
By
They just,
far.
but with the
yeah, they just
injuries,
haven't put it together. Like if Nico Collins goes off in this game, like, okay, Chargers probably lose. But they have not been on the same page this year. And that's my rationale for picking LA.
well, if Mixon doesn't run the ball, then the passing game's not going to exist.
Yeah. Here's something else. Here's a matchup that I think isn't getting talked about enough. So anyone who's watched Houston over the last month or so probably has realized how bad their offensive line is when it comes to picking up stunts and blitzes. And the Chargers off of that, like the Chargers blitzing and doing stunts like that and doing things up front to confuse things, one of the best teams in the league.
And C.J. Stroud takes sacks. He does not know how to get out of the pocket and extend plays.
Yeah, and he's not making the elusive, like, hey, scramble around and throw it up like he did last year.
That's not in his repertoire at all.
Not
Okay.
this year, at least.
Okay, Mike. They put up 40 points against the Patriots. They put up 34 points against a Raiders team that had like no one on defense. Then they put up 34 against the Broncos.
Were they healthy?
Man, yeah, man. And then I would just like look more into that game when they were playing at home and what the Buccaneers did to them. Like it's just one outlier result. But anytime, and like the Chargers defense, man, like they look good against average offenses, no doubt. Like they've looked really good this whole year against average offenses. Maybe Houston is just an average offense.
Well, right now.
Yeah, for sure.
Who does he have to throw to? He's got nobody to throw to.
Let me say this too. Like, I think last year's Texans wins this game without issue.
Oh, they would annihilate them. And
but it's just not the same team.
No, but also I would also change the scenario around, and I would look towards this Texans defense. Like that's the matchup why this is a no bet for me, is because if you look at the Texans secondary against these wide receivers, very good matchup. If you look at this Texans defensive line against the Chargers offensive line, very good matchup. I don't think the Chargers are going to run the ball. And also a lot of the Chargers defense, man, a lot of it's like bend, but don't break, let the other team run the ball, force field goals. And that's great. But man, I just think the Texans defense is a lot better than their defense, but we'll see. This Texans defense has been disappointing the whole year. So I can't really put my foot on it. I'll let
the other thing too is
it's going to be a great game to watch though.
Houston plays a shit ton of zone. I feel like LA is pretty good against zone.
Yeah, because none of those guys can create separation, and I don't understand why Houston doesn't play more man-to-man. Like
they should in this game. They should
got
in this
guys
game.
like Petrie and stuff. Like matchup wise, like I would just put Stingley in the slot against McConkey, and I would go down swinging that way.
Well, that's all about coaching. Let's see if they adjust.
A little bit nervous about D'Amico in this game. So,
yeah. Lauren, are you there?
Okay. Someone's talking about Someone in the comments not going to say how Harbaugh whooped CJ's ass at OSU. Come on, what the fuck does that have to do with fucking Sunday? That has nothing to do with what's going to happen on Sunday.
What are we even talking about right now?
No, it's just some guy in the chat saying the factor in this game is Harbaugh whooping C.J. Stroud's ass when Stroud was the Ohio State quarterback. Fuck
Oh,
that.
come on. That doesn't even make sense.
That.
That doesn't even make sense. Come on, bro.
All right, Lauren, go on. What the fuck is that shit? Like,
I'm just highly entertained right now. This is great. What does that have to do with anything? You guys just set Lawson onto he's going to put a pipe bomb in someone's mailbox.
I know. I was just letting him cook.
fuck, man.
Listen, guys, when it comes to the Chargers in Houston, like, here's where I'm at. Like, it depends on how much pressure they get on Herbert, because when he's pressured, you know, his yards per play are down. If his O-line can keep him protected, he'll be all right. But I'm just a little bit more worried about them on the road. Like, who have they really beaten on the road? Cleveland, the Raiders, Carolina. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, everyone's kind of written Houston off, and I don't know that that's like essentially the right thing to do yet.
Well, who do they lose to on the road?
I can bring up the schedule.
Yeah.
I mean, they beat the Patriots on the road. They beat the they lost to the Bucs at home. They beat the Falcons on the road, but we were lucky to cash on that. But yeah, credit to them beating them. They lost to the Cardinals on the road, but that's so early in the season. So
Yeah.
In fairness, too, I don't think LA is like the best home field anyway.
No, it's
Like, I don't think that
No,
makes a big
They don't
difference.
have a fan base over there. They have no
No.
fan base.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Just, you know what I mean? I just don't. I feel like this game could be so tight that I really don't have a lean. I'll tell you what I do like is maybe the under.
Yeah, that was my initial reaction. I just don't want to do that. But yeah, like
Yeah, I was
I
thinking
feel like
under
we
too.
covered this game. Not a strong lean for me, but when you guys can go about the Chargers. I'm curious.
Do we want to
see
talk?
how-
We probably ought to talk about this Bucks Commanders game.
Yeah, Lauren, what's going on back there?
With what? What do you mean?
Who else is in your car? Who's in your car
Yeah,
tonight?
it's just like frequency.
Oh, sorry. No, I'm in my car by myself.
No, we're good. All right, let's get in.
Did we already talk about Baltimore and Pittsburgh?
No, you can get to it. I got to use the bathroom real quick. I'll be right
I
back.
think we ought to talk about Bucks Commanders. People in the chat are asking.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm very excited for this game. I feel like this is just gonna be one of those shootouts where both teams just try to score as many points as they can and play absolutely zero defense. And for Sunday Night Football in round one of the playoffs, I am all for that. So
50 and a half. 50
yeah,
and a half over?
I like the over there.
Yes, sir. Yeah,
Dude,
I like
you know what?
that.
I'll tell you what. I was so pissed off that the Lions-Vikings over did not hit. Like, I went in and bet that over with such pride and enthusiasm, and the Vikings scored 9 points.
Mike, you want to know? Remember, I was talking about that, but then I laid
Yeah.
off of it.
Dude, I hit that over with so much confidence and so much pride, and then saw the Vikings, stall out in the red zone 4 times.
You know what it was with me? I was like, you know what? I'm going to bet that. And I was like, I'm just going to bet the over. And then, you know what?
Yeah.
I was like, how does Dan Campbell just lose? So
Yeah.
I just did a small one. I just did a small, a Detroit to win, and I hit that, but I left the totals alone.
Dude, Lawson, I don't know if you watched the Sunday night show. I'm going to say this while he's not here. Lawson was like low-key depressed on that post stream talking about the Vikings-Lions game. It was actually kind of really funny.
Well, you want to know why? They just didn't show
I
up.
don't blame him. I would be too.
Well, you have a Detroit defense that's all banged up, and then you don't go out and you can't even put up double digit, scoring. It was sad.
Aaron Glenn was fantastic in that game. Like, I mean, maybe the best coaching job of the year. And like people say, oh, Mike, why are you hard on defensive coordinators all the time? That game is why. Because I see what elite defensive minds in the NFL can do, and then I have to sit here and watch, defensive coordinators not even try to cover.
Guess who's interviewing Aaron Glenn, the Saints?
He ain't going to the Saints.
You think? Well, we'll see.
Lauren, I'm not gonna lie. Like, I would not want to be the coach in New Orleans. That's a really bad situation.
It's
And I'm not even
Yeah.
hating. Like, I'm not even trying to hate. I promise. That is just such a bad situation on paper. I would not touch it if I was Aaron Glenn.
The cap is bad there, so I
Well,
don't
yeah,
know.
and
It's
you have a
horrible.
$40 million quarterback who you can't really get rid of this year. You know, you don't really have a whole lot of young elite talent on that roster. It's a really ugly situation on paper.
Well, listen, getting to the Tampa game, though, I'll tell you guys this. Like, the one thing Tampa does is Bucky Irving runs like a beast, and they can't stop the run over there in Washington. So I got a feeling that if they can control the clock, this game, like, Tampa's going to win easily. But
I like Tampa and the over.
I do, too.
Yeah, Mike, you got Commanders.
I have Tampa, but who the hell knows? Like,
But
I
yeah,
have
Mike,
no confidence.
but
I
I had
like
a
Tampa
sleep
just.
on. Oh, go on.
I like Tampa just because I feel like they win more matchups overall. I think they'll be able to run the ball. I think they'll be able to throw the ball. I think they're going to stop the Commanders from running it outside of Jaden Daniels. But this is like, I really don't have a great read on this game. I like the over, but that's it.
I'm going to say this: if Washington pulls this out, I'm gonna give this Daniels kid his flowers because I mean that's balls to the wall, extreme rookie play. You're going against some veterans over here in Tampa that have done it before. I will definitely give him his flowers, but I just don't see it happening, man. His time will come, but I just don't think it's right now.
Yeah.
Like I said, I like Tampa and the over in this one.
There have been a lot of people saying that Jaden Daniels has been the best quarterback in the NFC this year. If he wins this game, I think he will prove that sentiment right, because it'll take a Herculean effort from his part, to outscore this Tampa offense, and he'll probably have to do it by himself without any sort of run game. So,
Well, Goff had some picks this year, but he's been pretty good also. In the
Yeah, you
NFC.
can't,
yeah, I'm just saying.
count on Goff.
I'm just saying that's a sentiment that's been going around that
I
Jaden
mean,
Daniels
he's
is the
hands
best
down
quarterback in the
rookie of the
NFC.
year. He's hands down rookie of the year. There's no doubt about it.
Oh, for sure.
Absolutely.
I mean, who else is there? Brock Bowers. He's been great
I
too.
mean, that well,
Honestly,
that
he should win it. Brock Bowers should win it.
that kid is serious, and he was on a shit team.
But you know how this is a quarterback-driven league. You
It
take all the
is.
snaps. You touch the ball 50, 60 times a game. You're the star. And tight end is like the lowest position in offense that you look at. There's receivers, there's quarterbacks, there's running backs, and then there's the tight end all the way at the bottom. They don't get any respect in terms
Well, you have
of.
to be a quarterback, and you have to win. Because I think Joe Burrow should be MVP, which I'm sure makes Lauren very happy. But he's not going to get it, obviously, because his team isn't that good.
Well,
I mean,
did you
he
see?
should
I don't know,
be
man.
comeback player of the
Josh
year.
Allen, bro.
Yeah,
Josh
But
Allen and
I should take
Lamar,
comeback
bro.
player
Both of
of
those
the
guys,
year.
man.
That stuff is so stupid. Like they change the criteria every year for comeback player of the year.
I think, hey, I'm biased, but I think Bryce Young should be comeback player of the year.
Darnold's
Who?
gonna win it, man.
Oh, yeah, Darnold should be too.
Yeah, he's the betting favorite. He's like minus 700.
Dude, so you know what?
Whoever bet that is gonna. They're
Well,
right
I
on
was
it.
saying that Sam Darnold was going to have a great year in like February.
Yeah, Mike, but we didn't know he was gonna start. We'll see what happens with Darnold on fucking Monday. But yeah, about the Commanders game, yeah, my opinion hasn't changed. And Coop saying it's gonna come down to coaching. Well, I think that's precisely why I'm worried. I'm worried about Cliff Kingsbury's bag. It's getting shorter every single week. These wide receivers from the Commanders are performing worse every single week. I am worried about it. Jaden Daniels deserves that offensive rookie of the year, even though I can make a strong case for Neighbors or Brock Bowers. He deserves it because these wide receivers are really bad and they're getting worse by the minute. And Terry McLaurin even has had a poor finish to the year. Like, let's be honest about it. 3 drop touchdown passes against the Saints. Everyone wants to like hate on Tyreek Hill and stuff, but Terry McLaurin's been poor to finish this year. Offensive line for the Commanders is deteriorating by the minute. The push isn't there. We haven't seen Brian Robinson have a good game in 5-6 weeks. I'm worried about it.
And if you really want to talk about Neighbors, look at what he's had to work with. Like, that kid is his first year in the NFL, and he's had third and fourth string quarterbacks to work with, and the kid's still making huge plays.
When you get all
And
the
he plays
targets
for the Giants.
when you get all the targets, that's what's going to happen.
I mean,
And he plays for the Giants.
But yeah, man,
Yeah.
it's
I would like
tough.
to
It's
see.
tough
I would like to
sledding.
see what Coop has. I'm going to get with Coop on Discord with this Washington Tampa Bay game in terms of props.
But yeah, man, the props, the props for me are like Baker Mayfield over passing yards, because man, I just think they're going to set up the run and they're going to pound him, and then the Baker's going to go off. Baker's probably been close to NFC's best quarterback this year. Like, let's be honest.
They're a point scoring machine all year. Tampa
Yeah.
Bay
I agree.
scores points, bro.
They're trained. They're trained.
I think if I would pick Baker.
Yeah.
And John,
so,
if you're feeling bad about the Vikings last week, I think that they're going to come back this week and really.
well, yeah, but Chris, I'm not really feeling bad, but I think I fucking heard you say that, oh, they didn't even score double-digit points. Like, well, yeah, but does it matter if you lose by 3 points or you lose by fucking 30? Like, that's like my first take on that.
No,
I guess
that's not what I said. What I said was because Michael was saying that you were feeling bad about how they lost, and I said, well, yeah, that's probably because they didn't score double-digit points, and we were all thinking it was going to be a shootout. You know what I'm saying? And I'm saying that that's not like this team, and I think they're going to come back strong this week, and they're going to win, and they're going to win big. You know,
So, Chris,
it wasn't like a shot.
No. I trust me. I don't take it personally. Trust me. If I took the Vikings personally, like, I still remember the day after they lost an NFC championship game, like, because I only had like a Vikings jacket to use in the cold. So, like, yeah, man, like, it is what it is. The Vikings suck, but
They don't suck. They won 14 games.
No, I know. But as a franchise, like, you can't trust them in the big moments. Although, like, I don't really go with like the history stuff, but man, they were down within like the 5-yard line. It felt like 4 or 5 times, and you don't get a touchdown out of that.
Well, you want to know something? The Vikings have been struggling in the red zone all year. That's what they, that's been.
That is true.
You know,
Sam Darnold has been bad in the red zone.
That
well,
is
yeah,
true.
I mean,
Because there was that stretch. There was that stretch where he was throwing a pick in the red zone every week.
Just because I got on here late, where is everybody with this Minnesota and Rams game? Because this is the only one I can make. I cannot make heads or tails of this. I guess before we talk about Baltimore.
And just before we get to that game, Coop saying, Chris, I like a lot of props for that game. I might make a same game parlay for that game. So yeah, I'll follow Coop whatever he posts on Discord. All right, let's get to this game.
We're gonna do Vikes and Rams, right?
Yeah.
I like over the 47.5.
But we need a side. Like, who's taking what side?
I like the Vikings to cover the 2.5.
Really?
I'm happy that it's in Arizona.
You want to know why? You want to know why I say that? Because over the last few weeks, it's only
1.5.
No, I'm saying Cooper Kupp has not been involved in the offense at all. The running game really hasn't been stellar. It's and the Rams really haven't been really impressing me offensively over the last month. So that's my main thing with them. I don't know what their deal is. They should be. I've won with them a little bit, but they haven't been putting up the points that I thought that they should be with this passing offense. Cameron Williams is back; he's healthy. I just don't understand what the disconnect is. That's what's going on with this offense, but it has not been clicking properly. I don't know why, but it just hasn't. And I think that the defense of the Vikings, they're going to probably know how to scheme against this offense a little bit, and it's going to come down to who's going to turn the ball over more. Hopefully, Sam Darnold won't throw any picks, and I have them covering the 2.5.
Yeah, Chris, I'm with you. I have Vikings to win and cover, simply because of how bad the Rams' offense was to end the year. I'm kind of surprised you said this game's going to go over though, with how bad they've been though. Like, I
Well,
don't feel like the Rams are going to be a dance partner in this game. I feel like the score is going to be like 20-13.
And
that's
what's
very.
what's the over under?
It's 47.5. I got.
Oh,
Yeah,
well,
I don't. That wasn't one I had a good read on, and
yeah.
Yeah.
I
But
thought it was
yeah.
1.5. I thought it was 1.5.
it moved
Did it
up today,
change?
Lauren.
Oh, okay.
But
I'll probably wind up laying off the total and just going with the Vikings to win and cover.
because firstly, I think it's smart not to get emotional. It's very hard not to get emotional about how the Vikings lost that game, though. Let's be honest about it. But I think it's best not to get emotional. Secondly, I have to co-sign everything you said about the Rams offense. And we bet them a lot this year. Like, even remember when we bet them against the Patriots, against the Saints on Patreon? I'm not saying we were lucky to cover those, okay? But
Well, it's very streaky. You
offense
know
didn't
how
get going.
offenses click at certain times of the year and sometimes they don't. I mean, they won us a lot of money this year. I'm not even talking about that. I'm saying right now, are they going to win us money right now? I don't think so. I don't. Who can explain the NFL? I don't know. But I know that they were winning us money, and right now they're not. So why
They
bet
look
it?
better with Jimmy G. And throw this to you guys. I'm kind of worried about Matt Stafford because his play has been bad since like week 10. So I'm more worried about Matt Stafford. And I saw Jimmy G come in there against the Seattle defense that has finished the last 10 weeks of the season very strong. And Jimmy G looked more assertive in there, and the balls actually had more zip on it, which is crazy because Matt Stafford has one of the strongest arms I've ever seen. I'm worried about Stafford. That's why I'm going Vikings. So.
I
Where
think the
is Cooper
concerning
Kupp?
part too, the concerning part about Stafford too is how bad he's been against pressure, which is not a problem you want to have when you're facing Minnesota.
Mike, but that was never his MO. Remember?
I know that was the exact opposite until week 8 of this year.
No, but you remember week 1 against Detroit? They fucking hit him every play, and he was slanging dimes. Man, how many dimes have you seen from Matt Stafford this year? And like, we've been actively betting his game, so I know you guys are watching. I watch every game regardless. I'm just not seeing a lot of good throws from him.
Is the pressure the reason why that Cooper Kupp is not getting any targets? Because where is he? He's like a ghost. You know, I mean, you could only give Nakua so many chances. I mean, when you have two dominant receivers, why is one of them being shunned? I don't know. I mean, is he being pressured where he can't get to his progressions and he can't see the field? I don't know. But where is Cooper Kupp?
But remember that Seattle game? Even when Nakua went out, Cooper Kupp wasn't the main option. Even after that. And I'm happy to see Higbee back in the mix if I was like a Rams fan or better. But still, like you said, I also think maybe some of this comes back to McVay. It's been a shaky year from McVay, to be honest, from my standpoint.
But these guys are on the field. Like McVay's not throwing the ball. You know, Stafford's back there. He can't go through his progressions and see who's open. Like how?
Well, and listen, there's another thing too. Didn't Demarcus Robinson get arrested?
I don't think he's missing the game, but he's been good this year. So,
well, I thought he got arrested. I didn't know that he was available for this week. Is he? Did someone check?
Yeah,
on
no,
that?
he's available.
I've heard nothing about it.
He's available.
Okay. Well,
something that was brought up in the chat. Something that was brought up in the chat that I think is a really good point too. I don't normally say this when there's something on the line week 18, but I thought the Rams actually made kind of a decent decision resting starters for week 18. Like with all the injuries and, you have like a lot of veteran older players on that team, I feel like benching them before the playoffs to give them a week off is not the worst move in the world. And it'll be interesting to see how that plays a factor going into this game.
Did they lose seeding? Did they lose seeding with that decision?
Yeah.
Yes. They could have. So they could have had the Commanders instead, but because the Bucs won and the Rams lost, they ended up being the 4 seed while Tampa was the 3 seed. So now
Yeah.
you get, and I don't know how much they value who they play round one. I mean, I guess either way you're at home and you got to win, but I don't know, man. Like, if I'm the Rams, I would much rather be seeing Washington's defense come in than Minnesota's.
Correct.
It depends on how they look at it. I don't know.
Yeah, and that's maybe they don't care. Maybe they don't care that much. I'll tell you what, the only team that I'd really be looking to avoid in the NFC this round is Philadelphia. As long as I don't play them, I'm good.
Yeah, heard that.
Kind of a good time. I think the Packers are getting Philly at a good time, though, Mike.
I don't know, man. I think the
heard
Packers are
Jordan
going to
Love's
get killed.
arm is hurt.
I think Philly's going to win and cover, but I'm nervous about that one.
No, I think we're going to have that easy.
I hope, man. I hope. I need it. Okay.
Yeah.
I need to get that one on the board.
Yeah, I don't.
The
I
only
don't see
thing,
Green Bay winning this game, bro.
unless Matt LaFleur would have to just pull up an all-time like rabbit out of the hat to win this game.
How do you rate, Mike? How do you rate Philly's front seven?
I think they've been phenomenal. They've been like a top 5 run defense in the league this year. I feel like.
I kind of agree too. It's just a little bit nervous about it because no one's really. I mean,
yeah, that's the thing. It's hard to
pound them, but not really. And
it's hard to evaluate a run defense when you're blowing teams out.
No, and it's hard to evaluate a run defense when you got Jaden Daniels who can just do a read option on you, or if you're playing like fucking someone like Josh Allen. I haven't really had time to evaluate them. Like, for instance, like going into this like Rams Vikings game, remember when the Rams ran the ball the first time against the Vikings? And I don't know what the stats say at the end of the game with the Lions, but I was very happy with the way the Vikings stopped the run that game. I didn't see the final tally, but I think that's what makes me definitely want to bet the Vikings. Not sure if I bet it, checking the Patreon Monday morning, but that's one thing that makes me want to bet the Vikings. I feel like they can stop the Rams run. And one thing we've been saying all year, if the Rams get the running game going, then that offense is really fucking nice. But if they don't, they've been shit.
Well, and part of the impressive thing about that too is, the reason that game was as low scoring and as close as it was for so long was that the Lions came in there trying to run the ball. And they just couldn't do it. Minnesota completely stopped them in the first quarter. Now, the problem was they weren't scoring points on the other side, and their defense just got worn down by Jahmyr Gibbs. But they were legitimately, holding the Lions to 1-2 yards every 1st and 10 for about the entirety of the first quarter. So...
yeah. So.
Yeah, defensive lines get worn down. That's the reason why you keep pounding the rock and don't give up on it. And as you see, I think Gibbs went over his yards, right?
He did. He eventually did. But it was a good performance.
Yeah,
he had a garbage touchdown at the end, though. I think there.
Yeah, it was like 30 yards. I was setting up, and Coop says something in the chat that like he thinks Saquon's going to run all over him, and I do. But like Chris said, like. I kind of think the Eagles are also a live bet situation for us because, like I said, I think this is going to be sticky going into the third quarter. Like, I don't think the Eagles haven't started fast this whole year. Saying Rams, Eagles, Carolina doesn't start fast.
I'm going to be quite honest. I think the major thing in this on both sides is how the quarterback play is going to be. You have Hurts coming back off a concussion, who just started practicing the last couple of days. You don't know what he's going to bring you, how rusty he is, and then you have Love, who supposedly has an issue with his arm. So
maybe the smart thing to do is to take Green Bay +3 in the first quarter.
That would probably be.
So here's the other thing too. I think that first quarter is a complete toss-up because anytime the Packers have played a good team this year, they've also started really slow. They started slow against Minnesota both games. They started slow against Detroit. Who else have they played?
You talk about Philly never really gets going until the second half. So when they get going, and when they do, they start pouring it on. So Green Bay, the first quarter +3. I feel like is where I'm going with this. And then
I think it's a no-bet situation.
Whenever you're betting quarters and halves, it's very bold because it's such a crapshoot. You don't know exactly what they're going to do. You don't know what they're going to do. I mean, it sounds good on paper, but then you go in there and then it's very difficult to.
Oh, Chris, I know what I'm doing on the one I posted, but I agree with you. I don't like doing it, but I know what I'm doing on the one.
A half. You have a pick for the quarter.
For us
Tell me
to
you have
cover that, we need one punt. We need one punt.
Oh my God.
We need one punt. That's all we really need. And don't want to give that one away. But man, the Rams starting games, when I saw the point differential, in the realms of like the Carolina Panthers for first quarter, it's bad. And you saw what the Rams did against Jets. Anyways, getting to that Packers Eagles game, what is crazy, man? And I've been trying to say it the whole year. The Packers are like a run first team now. And I think that's what's so different about them going into these playoffs. And I'm not seeing where the plays come from Jordan Love, even if he's fully healthy.
And the problem, here's the thing is, without Christian Watson, their deep threat is really, really, really scarce.
And you want to know something? It's not like he gets the ball a lot, but it's just the fact that he's out there and
it's
he's
the
not.
Deep threat. It's the deep threat.
Right, exactly.
He gets the 40-yard bomb. He gets a 60-yard catch. He gets a 30-yard catch and then runs for 20 more. You know what I mean? So
it's just the fact that a safety has to run over that way on that side of the field, and that corner has to be dragged all the way down the field, and now he's not there.
And without him, that's a big problem because that Philly defense, guys. Let's be honest, that Philly defense is fierce.
Yeah, and they're very good in zone.
Mm-hmm.
So and I'm looking forward. Pretty much like the Eagles secondary just needs to focus on Reed and Kraft, but also one player prop that didn't make the player prop video was Dontavius Wicks for the Packers. I honestly feel like he's been their best wide receiver the second half of the year. So Dontavius Wicks, I think it's like 37.5. So
I think Jacobs goes over his carries. I don't know what it is, but whatever it is, if it's like 30 or 28, I think he's going to go over his carries.
Well, I know his rush yards are like 60, was 64.5, 66.5 when I picked it. So
that looks pretty good too, actually.
I don't know if game script is going to favor that though.
You think the Eagles are going to score early, or what do you mean?
I think you could be in a situation where the Eagles have a 10-point lead in the third quarter, and now you're looking at, common knowledge is going to say you're going to want to throw.
Yeah, I think Jacobs is going to have that total by the third quarter.
But Mike, that's exactly what happened against the Vikings. It was the same line. It was like 66.5, 68.5. He goes into the third quarter with like 60 yards, and he didn't get it.
Exactly.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Well, I still like Philly. I got it at 5 now, but the under. I like the under in this game because you just don't know. Both of these guys coming off injuries. I think 45.5 is a lot of points for these two teams to score.
And just to go on about Mesmerized. Mesmerized wrote a comment, and like this is one thing where I see a blowout situation in this game where I kind of agree with Michael Mann. Because I feel like the weakness of the Packers defense, how I would want to attack them, is to fucking throw it. And Jair Alexander not back there. People were poo-pooing that and telling me that secondary was good all year. That secondary is ass. So obviously there's going to be serious avenues for Philadelphia if they can throw the ball. I guess my only concern about that Mesmerized is I wonder how much rhythm Hurts is going to have. We've seen the passing game for the Eagles lack rhythm at times this year. Let's be honest about it. It hasn't been Hurts' best year by any means. So if you tell me Hurts even gets into like 8 out of 10 rhythm, yeah, man, like he's going to shred them up. They're going to get 3 or 4 big plays in the pass game. Saquon runs it. Like I could see a blowout like 37. Like I could see like a 28-10 win. If the Eagles get the pass game going.
So let me answer that.
Hurts has had like 20 days off.
So here's the other thing too. So you've said that you're afraid of Hurts entering this game out of rhythm. I know this is a one-time thing, but 2 years ago when the Eagles made the Super Bowl, Jalen Hurts hurt his shoulder like week 14 of the year. He missed about 3 or 4 weeks. I think he played a little bit week 17, but it wasn't much. He had the bye week, and then he played the Giants the first round of the playoffs after pretty much not playing for an entire month, and then lit them up.
Yeah.
So historical precedent says Jalen Hurts can. Yeah. So historical precedent says hey, Jalen Hurts has done this before. He can do this. Now, maybe that's the one-time thing, but like, concussions, I don't think are something that completely throws you off your rhythm.
Bro, I think Love's injury is more of a factor in this game.
I
I
agree.
wonder, Mike. I wonder because, well, Mike, they got us. They got us. Okay. We still had like the Eagles as definitive money pick when we did the opening lines. But listen, they got us a little bit. So here's my question. Maybe the Eagles were, how can I say this, sandbagging, over exaggerating with Hurts. With how long he stayed in concussion protocol. You understand what I'm saying? He stayed in a long fucking time. So
Well, he didn't practice till like yesterday.
Which I find tough to believe.
Yeah,
I do find with some of the shit that's coming out about NFL injuries this year, Mike, I find that very tough to believe.
Especially shit not being reported.
The hit he took was not even that bad.
No.
Like this, he didn't get like clotheslined on the sideline. I mean, he just, he got hit as he was getting tackled. Like, it's not.
Well, it wasn't like the hit Devontae Smith took earlier this year.
Right. Yeah. That cheap shot against the Saints. Yeah.
Yeah.
You probably got one of those. You probably got one of those Tua concussions.
That 201 was weird. So.
Well, yeah, he just can't slide.
Yeah, Mike. So Lauren and Chris, give me your last takes on any of these bets you want, because I want to talk about some of these coaching things with Mike.
I definitely think Baltimore is going to put Pittsburgh to sleep. Pittsburgh has lost their last 4 games. Pickens isn't doing jack diddly squat. Najee looks terrible. I don't see anything coming out of this Pittsburgh offense that's going to be the line is this big for a reason. So I'm fully happy laying it with Baltimore.
+5 Denver. +5 Denver. Ride or die of Sean Payton. Let's go.
Get the hell out of here. 5. It was at 8 earlier.
No, I'm saying tease it down to 5 and get plus money.
Listen, Denver has not. Why? Because they shut out Kansas City's B team? No. Buffalo is going to.
Rewatch the video, Lauren. Rewatch the video later.
That's garbage. Chargers -3. I still ride on that. Okay. I'm going to stay off the Ravens. And I'm going to go with the over under over 43 with the Ravens. Bills, I got them boat running. 9.5 is not enough. They're going to destroy.
I agree.
They're going to destroy them.
I agree.
And I also like the over in that game also. And then I like under in the Philly game. I'm going to leave Philly alone with the point spread and just go with the under on that. Washington and Tampa Bay. I like Tampa Bay to cover the 3. And then the Vikings and the Rams. I'm going to lay off the total, and I'm just going to go Vikings -2.5.
Got you. So Mike, am I overreacting to Antonio Pierce losing his job?
You know what? Okay.
All right.
I have a harder time understanding.
I just want to say goodbye because I'm headed to poker. But
sounds good, Lauren. Sounds good.
All right. I'll catch you guys. Good luck this weekend, everybody. And I'll see y'all later, okay?
We missed you last week. Have a good one, Lauren.
I know. I was out of town at a poker tournament. Sorry.
All right. See you, Lauren.
Bye, guys. Have a good night.
So what I thought was more memorizing about the Raiders firings, they fired their GM after 1 year. And I felt like they had a pretty good draft. Like an above average draft. And, he hadn't really had a chance to do a whole lot. And they fired him after 1 season. That honestly rubbed me the wrong way more than the Antonio Pierce signing did.
You know what? That gives them cover to just say it's an old dumpster fire. Like, it is a dumpster fire. Like, let's be honest about it. I think I saw a graphic where they're like in the last 30 years, they have the most losses in the NFL, although we have some expansion franchises. So, but that stat is that stat for a reason. To have like more losses than like an organization like the Browns or the Bengals in the last 30 years is troublesome to say the least. But yeah, man. And I don't know what Tennessee's doing. Okay. So you fire the GM, but you leave the head coach. What's going on here, man? And why? Like, listen, I know Tennessee's like a small market team, and like obviously the Raiders have a fucking ton of fans, ton of media. compared to other franchises in this league. But I just don't know how Brian Callahan got away scotch-free, because I know a one and done when I see one, like a Frank Reich with Carolina, Gerard Mayo with the Patriots, Jim Tom Sula with the 49ers. Like, I know a one and done when I see one, and Brian Callahan had all the makings of a one and done.
Yeah. For me, what makes a good one and done is when you lose the locker room. And I don't feel like Antonio Pierce did that this year. And that's why, like, I mean, shoot, for all the talk about teams trying to tank to end the season, Raiders did not get that memo. They were playing their best football at the right time, like, to end the year. So to see them fire Pierce, like, I mean, could he do some things better? Is his clock management bad? Yeah, but like, there's certainly there are a lot of coaches, I think, who you could fire for more egregious things than Antonio Pierce.
But yeah, and like Dal J's probably right. Like, Callahan out-politicked Rand Carthon with the Titans owner. It's just like, that's what we're coming to. Like, we got, like, see, the Titans owner, she got it from her dad. And it's just like, when people get teams like that, like, same thing with Mark Davis from Al. It's bad, man. It's bad. It's bad.
It's rough.
It makes Tepper look better, honestly.
Yeah.
Tepper is flying under the radar now. But no, Coop, I agree. Like, maybe because we're the only ones that fired the Titans, but I made like a specific small platform here. But I talked about the Titans way too much the last 3 weeks in the spread video, because, man, he did lose the locker room. And what he did to Will Levis earlier this year was a fireable offense. Remember when he threw him out against the Colts when the kid had only one shoulder working? And did you see those ducks? And man, it was just ridiculous. It was ridiculous. I've never seen it's probably about the worst coaching performance I've ever seen. And that's worse than Nathaniel Hackett's. I'll be honest.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you have anything to add, Chris. I just don't think Antonio Pierce should have lost his job. So
I think Antonio, from what I heard, he got fired going into the locker room in the tunnel. Like they didn't even wait for him to get to the locker room, which I think was appalling. Also,
well, I think Gerard Mayo, I think, legitimately got I think he might have been in the same boat, because they beat the Bills and like the Patriots already had a statement out that he was gone.
Yeah.
So that was a premeditated firing.
I think that they had plans for him to leave before the season was even over, and they have some kind of premeditated thing that they're going to do. But yeah, I mean, Pierce, they fought for him all year long. It's just the team isn't good.
Yeah, I will say I did kind of agree with Gerard Mayo getting fired.
I agree, because we watched that shit, man. If you watch that shit, like. And like, I get it. Someone could say Antonio Pierce. Like, I mentioned 3 games I felt like he blew. But then again, Gardner Minshew, and who made that decision?
Yeah, if you don't have the pieces out there to win, your coach can only do so much. Your coach is there to rally your troops and to get the most out of your players, and he did that. Your coordinators are supposed to matriculate the ball up and down the field and to stop offenses. Did they do that? You know what I'm saying? So you gotta take accountability on each part. That's the reason why you have coordinators. That's the reason why you have GMs. That's the reason why you have coaches. Did he do his job as a coach? I think he did. Did their coordinators do their job? Probably at times, but not all the way. And did their GM and ownership do their job? Probably not.
Yeah.
And the scapegoat's always going to be the coach.
Yeah, and I could see the Crafts. They probably. I think there was like a time where like Gerard Mayo called out the whole team and called the defense soft. Like, listen, I knew this defense is overrated going into the year, but still, like, they underachieved at such a bad rate. And that Chargers game was about as bad as it gets. So if you're watching that Chargers game and you're Kraft, like, you have full validity to fire him from it.
I think once Vrabel was out there and ready, I think that's when he was done. Mayo.
I'm curious who gets Ben Johnson. I would, if I was the Patriots, I would get Ben Johnson. But that's me.
I don't know. Yeah, when you're talking about Kraft, he likes to stay in house, I think, a little bit. That's why I think Vrabel might be someone that comes in there. I also think he might be a good coach, but I don't know.
If I'm Ben Johnson, I would want to go to the Bears.
I think maybe that's what he's angling for, but I also think he's fine with just going back to the Lions. And
Yeah.
same thing about what you said about Aaron Glenn with the Saints. I think if they don't get the offers they want and the situations they want, they'll just go back. And why not?
Well, and Aaron Glenn, I think he's going to go to the Jets. I think
Why
that's
anyone would go to Chicago? I don't know why they would want to go there.
Well, I think you have decent pieces in Chicago. Okay, we can talk about Caleb Williams sucking all you want. You can't deny the guy has talent. Like, he has potential to be a good player. That offense was just such a mess from top down that didn't happen this year. You have good receivers. Your offensive line is good names, but they just played like shit this year for whatever reason. Like, I don't feel like this is a complete rebuild waiting to happen in Chicago. Now a team like the Saints, a team like the Jets, okay, we might have different conversations. Like, if I'm going to either the Jets or the Saints, I better get assurance from that owner that I'm not going to get fired after my first year.
Yeah,
because both those teams, well, go ahead.
No, but you're right. You're 100% right. Sorry to cut you off. But with the Saints, don't you need full control, because someone has to start fixing that salary cap situation.
Yeah.
Because it's not like, the NFL, there's actually rules. It's not like United States prints money and we can print money and there's no effects because United States military, like, it's actually like there's rules in the NFL. So
you need a businessman over there to clean that up,
Yeah. So, and like Coop saying, like, maybe Ben Johnson to the Jags, maybe he gets full control. But then again, they kept Balky. Who would want to work with Balky?
Exactly. And
some of the worst free agent contracts every single year we pan them, and the free agent contracts get worse. And why are you overpaying when you don't have a state income tax, for fuck's sake?
Yeah.
Anyways,
that's a good point right there. That's a good point.
Anyways, what else did I want to ask you about? There's one other thing I wanted to ask you about before we go. Fuck, I forgot. Oh, Dal J, I remember you were ragging on me because I changed my pick to the Patriots to beat the Bears. I remember, Dal J, you were on my ass, man, about that. You were on my ass saying I hate Chicago. I don't hate the Chicago Bears, man. I really don't. I just, trust me. But yeah, like, there was one thing I wanted to ask Mike. Fuck, but I'm forgetting, man. I'll just ask you on Instagram. Any last words?
No, I think it's going to be a phenomenal weekend. We got to, I think each one of these games has the potential to come down to the wire. The only one I see really being a blowout is the Packers game, but even that, I feel like the Packers can make that close if LaFleur shows up and presses the right buttons.
Mike, and there's game states and there's game flows for all of these games to be extremely interesting. There's a game flow for the Pittsburgh Steelers to beat the Ravens.
And you know what? I really hope so. Okay, my first one of my first big football memories as a kid was the 2008 AFC Championship game between Pittsburgh and Baltimore. And, you look at that game, how many just elite Hall of Fame names were in that game. James Harrison, Ed Reed, Ray Lewis, Joe Flacco was a rookie. Ben Roethlisberger was young in his career. And just, that's peak football right there. So I really hope for, the sake of that rivalry that this game is, top tier. I hope it's a close 7-point game. I don't think it's going to be because the Steelers suck. But yeah, I really hope that's something.
Yeah, it's good. It's good we're here, so it's good. But yeah, man, hit the like button, share the videos. Thanks for coming on, Chris. Thanks for coming on, Mike. Mike, I'll send you a message Sunday morning when we're going to do the opening line show, whenever you can, man.
Yeah, I'm good for either night.
Yeah, I think Sunday, because we can kind of and then we can just kind of guess. So,
and listen, if the Eagles win and if the Bucks win, then the Lions are just going to play whoever the winner of that game is. So it's not like we have to do rocket science and project, who they're going to be going against.
Okay, good. Make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you share the videos. Everyone have a good weekend. I actually think the Texans Chargers could be the best game of the weekend, but
Well, this is my favorite week of the whole season, or my second favorite week. Next week is my favorite week. It's
Yeah.
going to be a fun week to watch. Once this week is over, next week's going to be phenomenal, no matter who's there. So let's get this money, guys.
This is the second best week of the year. The
You
first
heard that.
best week is fucking week 1. Okay, week
Yeah,
1.
but everybody loses money week 1, so it's my least favorite.
Well, I had a great record going into this year. Week 1 used to be my heyday, but week 1.
I'm a nerd, but I also really like the draft. The draft is a good football night.
Dude, the draft is the shit, bro.
But
That's
yeah.
like a holiday. That's like Christmas.
Oh
bro.
yeah, that's like honestly, I value the draft more than I value Christmas at this point.
Well, I guess you're gonna be an old man like me soon, bro.
Yeah.
But you guys watch college football. I don't even know who's going. Oh, also, did you see? Okay, my theory about college football fans is correct. All they do is cry. Like all it is cry. No, seriously, Chris. They're Notre Dame wins again. Okay, first they're crying about James Franklin and how he's disrespectful to Marcus Freeman. Now, secondly, okay, Notre Dame wins the game. They all want Notre Dame to win, which I completely get. Not a James Franklin guy myself. Okay, so Notre Dame wins the game. Now everyone's crying, saying Notre Dame didn't earn their way there. They need to be in a conference. It's just all it is just a fucking crybaby.
Listen, if I wanted this type of drama, I would sit with my wife and watch The Housewives of New Jersey. I'm not going to do that. I'd rather watch football.
Like there's less crying, there's more aggression, there's more masculine energy when the lady with when the Italian ladies go at the other ladies. There's more aggression than college football fans. It's just a bunch of guys like crying.
Well, I'm glad Notre Dame won. We have a great game tonight in Ohio State and Texas, and the winner of these two games is going to have a great national championship, and that's what it's all about. And the star and the players that come out of these colleges is what makes the NFL go around. So let's start prospecting to see what our teams are going to get. That's all college is about for me. I start looking at these players and I go through their YouTube videos and I watch their skill sets and I try to figure out who my team is going to get, and it gets me through the whole summer along with baseball, MLB. Let's get it.
All right, have a good one, guys. Thank you, guys. Have a great one.
Have a good night, everyone.
Good night.
Okay, Patreon bets are already up. We got one soccer one tomorrow, FA Cup Saturday. I think it's like 12 o'clock your times. So yeah. And Dominique, I believe your bookie broke you off because it's been a hot year to say the least. Yeah, Jarrett, go Bucks. And I did see the video you sent me of Mike Zimmer. Hit the like button, share the videos. Everyone have a great night. Enjoy the college football.